How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. Bryan Alvarez is not here right now, although he's expected to join us before the end of the show. He's actually doing an acting gig today up in Seattle. But we do have Mike TENAY, who is already on the line from Las Vegas, the host of NWA TENAY, which is their first pay-per-view. First Sunday pay-per-view, of course, on November the 7th, talking about that, as well as anything else you want to talk about. We've got a couple of lines available at 1-800-878-PLAY, so if you want to join the show, you can call in right now, and you can get on board very quickly. Mike, how are you tonight?
Dave, I'm doing great. How's everything going with you?
Everything's going pretty good. Going good. I guess got a lot of stuff we can talk about today, and I know that you're pretty much caught up on the WWE stuff as well as obviously the TNA stuff. And I think the first thing, since you're here, that we should talk about is the TNA show on the 7th, and your thoughts on, this is a big thing because you got to get off to a good start on this one. There's a few, we always talk about like the carrot dangling, and different things in the future. You always want to, when the company isn't, necessarily knocking them dead, there's the thing that you hang on for is you hung on for the TV. The TV shows that its ups and downs, has not maintained the audience. But of course the TV still could get a better time slot. It was getting your foot in the door. You had to do that. And now the move from the Wednesday pay-per-view to the Sundays, which should save the company money. Virtually everyone in the company that I've heard is behind the move, but you got to make the Sundays work now.
Boy, no question about that. I do think the move was inevitable, and I think it was, at least from my standpoint, I think it's time now that we really, for the best long-term aspect of the company, that we go to the special, once a month Sunday 3-hour pay-per-views. Of course, the realization is going to set in on November the 7th that we have that one chance, I think, to make that first big impression on that show, and as a result, I would just be shocked. I would be surprised if everybody from top to bottom in that company, from A to Z, just have their working boots on in an effort to make this a very memorable show for the TNA fans. And it's going to be a big one for us. There's no question about it. And I think probably the biggest event in the 2.5 years of the company's history, especially in terms of how we go forward from there.
I think it's the biggest since maybe the first show. As far as you've got to get up on the right foot and get some momentum also coming out of it for your TV show. I want to ask you now this week on a Wednesday night actually is a real big night for the company in a sense. The pay-per-view is big for your regular viewers and some people who might be trying something out because it's traditional Sunday and because it's the biggest show in company history. But Wednesday is a taping for Best Damn Sports Show, period. And on that one, your company is going to be exposed to a general sports audience, to more non-wrestling fans, I think, than you've ever been exposed to before. So it's, certainly it is your best opportunity to make new fans, on this two-show taping on Wednesday that will air sometime between November 8th and November 12th on Best Damn Sports Show.
Yeah, I think it's really huge for us. One of the things as I deal with the TNA product on a regular basis is just getting the word out to the masses. And I think that's something that this Best Damn Sports Show really has an opportunity to do for us. I think there's a chance for a lot of crossover potential in terms of the audience here, being able to get exposed during time periods that people that have not had the chance to set aside time on a Friday afternoon, or that they haven't gone out of their way to tape it or TiVo it. This is going to be a chance also for us to wave the flag and let them know that we do exist. So I think it's going to be big for the company. I am excited about the pay-per-view event coming up on November 7th, the Victory Road show. I think there's a little bit of something on this show for everybody. I think there's potentially some really terrific work with AJ Styles, Petey Williams for the X Division title. Going to see a lot of the high flyers involved in that X Division gauntlet. I think we certainly have recognized personalities on this show. Rowdy Roddy Piper returning with a pit segment, his surprise guest. We also have Dusty Rhodes, of course, and the fans vote for the Director of Authority between Rhodes and Vince Russo. And you have a main event that is really just loaded with intrigue. You have Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy for the NWA World's Heavyweight title. It's going to be a ladder match in playing to Jeff Hardy's specialty. And then you also have the X factor, that equation of the outsiders being thrown into the picture, the return of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall to professional wrestling, and the intrigue there is as far as where those individuals really, where their loyalties lie. So I think it's a show that I'm excited about, and I think November 7 is going to be a big step for us. And that's the first big step, and the second big step is going to be those Best Damn Sports Show tapings, which actually are going to come up this week. It's going to be a very busy week.
Well, the one thing with the Best Damn Sports Show thing, and Brian Cox and Monty Brown are going to do a tag match, and Tom Arnold is going to referee a minis match. I think that there might be a chance. I don't know if you can get something with that, to a lot of promotion on that station, and maybe even on other things if you can do some sort. The key is if you can work with them to do some sort of a big angle to lead to something on a pay-per-view with a high-profile thing, get some guys rubs. It's hard. Believe me, I rack my brains on a daily basis, trying to come up with the brilliant idea like Mike Tyson and Steve Austin that turned the WWE around in 1998. But that's what everyone, that's what the business needs right now, is that idea that catches people that really have not been paying a lot of attention to wrestling and gets them, I know it's the $1 million idea, and obviously nobody has one because.
Boy, and that audience is out there, and I really believe just in talking to people on the streets and talking to people at airports, restaurants, casinos that I go to, I really get the impression that there is an audience that once again would come back to wrestling if handled the right way. And I think our biggest obstacle at this point is just getting the word out to the people that we exist, period. And I think that that's something that these Best Damn Sports shows are going to take at least take some of that hurdle and some of that obstacle down and get the word out about the product and try and direct people to watching the regular shows on Friday.
Well, yeah, I think your other big obstacle is and I think the one thing that we've really learned over the years is that this is a business of star power, and it's so hard to create new stars when the business is down, and it's actually when the business is up, it's actually fairly easy. And the whole thing is that there's plenty of guys. We've all seen AJ Styles and everything like that, who's great wrestler, and I'm not the only one. But people don't see these guys as stars, and for $29.95. The other thing is on pay-per-view, and I've really seen it. I'll tell you, I saw it Tuesday on the WWE Taboo Tuesday, and I saw it again on Friday on the UFC pay-per-view. That people are far less willing to spend the big money on pay-per-view unless they think it's going to be can't miss, and people now are thinking pay-per-views are missable. We've seen it. WWE made a big mistake. Running, I think, the 2 pay-per-views a month, and I think they really need to get away from that. I think that lesson's been taught twice now, and and with UFC, if you don't have the main event, people will skip the show.
I think what you're saying is there's just so much product to choose from when it comes from grabbing that pay-per-view sports audience, coming off the 2 huge boxing matches, the multiple WWE shows, the UFC show this week. So, boy, you're right, Dave. It's a discerning viewer out there that's going to plunk down that money for the pay-per-view. So that's why you really definitely have to pay that off once you do get that viewer. Boy, it's going to be tough, though. Yeah,
you're going to have to give him a good show, but you're also going to have to make him feel that it's worth it with some stories that happen at the show. And with Hall and Nash coming back, obviously there's going to be some sort of a story and some sort of an angle with that. But it better be good.
Well, the whole show has to be good. The show has to deliver from an in-ring standpoint, certainly from an angle standpoint, from an announcing standpoint. The pressure's on everybody to deliver on November 7, and I think that we're ready. I think it's been a great 2.5-year learning experience for everybody associated with the product, and I think we're ready to take that next big step, and we better be.
Yeah. There's talking about some other things. Now, again, you mentioned to me before we went on the air that you're all caught up on watching WWE. And what the Tough Enough thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, fitting into that show, and we're going to have this for the next 8 weeks, what do you think of Tough Enough in the body of SmackDown?
In the body of the show, I thought was a negative to me. I enjoyed the segment. Had to be well over 20 minutes.
Yeah, 23 minutes.
Was it 23?
Yeah.
I certainly enjoyed this segment. I thought it was some of the best WWE programming that I had seen in recent months. And at the same time, as I watched the show, both leading into it and leading out of it, I just got the impression that it would have been better served from a standalone show standpoint. I think it, especially these days, as I watched that, I just thought that maybe somebody missed the boat this time on bringing Tough Enough back and letting this thing go and really getting behind it. And I know that's something that I'm sure they approached the networks on, and I'm sure this was probably the best resolution that they could work out. But in watching that, I was definitely intrigued by it, and at the same time, thought it would have been better standalone away from the wrestling.
I think that everyone knows that. The question is now, how does this affect the next 8 weeks of SmackDown? Because, again, and you know what, I agree with you, and we've talked about this before. I didn't like the idea of it as part of the show going in. In fact, I thought it was going to be a real negative on the show. Now, I think that there's some very charismatic guys. Now, where it goes in the long run, I don't know, because you're going to have some guy win $1 million who's not ready to wrestle, and he's going to have to go on that show, and that's going to be very tough on the guy. Very tough. But I didn't expect my attitude, which was when I watched it, to be, wow, that's overshadowing the wrestling show. I thought that it was going to be just this boring interlude on the show, kind of like the Diva Search was on Raw. I mean, this is, again, they did a great job on that first segment.
Could there be a big contrast in the quote-unquote reality-type segments than Monday's Raw Diva segment and Thursday's Tough Enough?
I know. Unbelievable difference.
Oh, I mean, for something that, looks on the surface to be similar, you could not have a wider variance than what went down on Monday with that Divas segment of this week's Raw, and how good the Tough Enough segment was on Thursday. In watching it, I think there may be something to do with the fresh faces aspect of it. And I think that's probably going to help Cologne, and I think that's going to help Hayden right well. I think people are just ready. They're at that point where they want to see some fresh new faces, and let's put them out there whether they succeed or fail. And I think that's going to be another aspect of the Tough Enough that's going to be a positive, and I look for it to be, just judging by that first week, I look for it to be a help in terms of the ratings for SmackDown.
Okay. What are your thoughts? First, before I want to mention, I thought that the guy they cut, who was 40 years old, was the most unbelievable character to come along the pike. I mean, I saw that guy between his facials and his look. I mean, I couldn't, he lied and they cut him. I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, if they're going to get rid of everybody who lies in wrestling, we ain't going to have a business, but that's another story. But, I mean, I was so compelled by that guy. I mean, now again, I mean, it means nothing because if he couldn't wrestle, and that's the problem is they picked a couple of pretty charismatic guys, but it means nothing if they don't pick it up. I mean, and here's the other thing.
And that's the hardest part of the voting, because there's really, it's really difficult for them to be able to present to the fans that are voting that in-ring ability aspect of the final eight.
Well, and also because you have you've got the one thing that's inherently unfair, and that's Mike the Miz, who's had 2 years of training in UPW, wrestled many independent matches, has had a lot of television. I mean, in the aspects of professional wrestling, in the aspects of talking, in the aspects of being able to present yourself on television, he is worlds above the other 7 guys who were all basically, jocks who, some of whom are pretty charismatic, and some of whom, all of them have good physiques, as you can tell who they are, or almost all of them have good physiques. And, but it's going to be interesting because you got the people voting, and I don't know. I mean, I see Mike the Miz and Dan Rodimer as the big favorites. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, again, I was surprised that they cut the guy that they did for lying.
it made for great television, but I don't know if that was the move that they should have made.
I don't know that the payoff for that one segment is, and it was great TV, but is the payoff for that one segment worth losing the potential of giving this guy a chance? And again,
well, I think
we really didn't see.
Yeah,
what they saw also in terms of whatever he was able to deliver in that short time period in ring.
That's true. However, the other thing is I think that the reality also is one of the reasons they cut him was because he was 40. Starting somebody out. Rico Constantino had so many obstacles against him. If Rico was 10 years younger than he was, he'd have been on the main roster earlier, and he had to work his way through that whole mentality of he's 40 years old and he's just starting in this business, and nobody wanted to give him a break, and even when he was the star at OVW. And I think that their feeling is just, they want guys in their early 20s. Most of these guys, I think, are between about 23 and 27 or so. I'm not sure of the age of everybody, but most of them are fairly young guys, and then you have this one guy who's 40 who was an amazing character. That's all I can say. One real quick before we start getting to the calls. Your Hall of Fame ballot was frickin' uncanny. And I know you worked hard on it, as we all did. But you had the top 11, and not all of them got in. 7 got in, 4 did not. But of the top 11 finishers in the ballot, Mike TENAY, who picked 11 people, 10 people, and Jesse Ventura from the non-wrestler category, you got all 11 right. That was what do you attribute that to?
I don't have the slightest idea. I don't know what this says.
I know what it said. I know what a lot of people would say about it, but
I know I spent hours putting together the information both for the balloting as well as for the radio shows that we did leading up to that. So I definitely put my homework and put my time into it, but it certainly wasn't something that I was trying to do. I was more or less just shocked when I remember seeing the results and just how every one of them in order went right down the line. It's scary.
Yeah. What are your thoughts now? There's been a lot of talk about the thing. We haven't really, no one's really called the show about it. I wish they had, actually. But I guess the big, there hasn't been a big controversy about Triple H not making it, except for a few people. And I think, but he had tremendous support among WWE wrestlers, just so people know. Kurt Angle certainly, I think, has been, on the message boards I've seen, the most controversial pick, yet I know a lot of people who were very, very strong on him, and if I remember, wasn't that your number 1 pick or number 2 pick? Him and Undertaker.
Yeah, I think we talked about Undertaker initially.
Yeah, Undertaker and Kurt Angle were your 2 big picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm shocked that people would even, would consider, not voting for Angle. That really is a surprise to me. I can understand the people that may have a political backlash towards Triple H, although I'd certainly consider him Hall of Fame material, and I voted for him, and it was really close. Wasn't he just like he was 2 ballots away from getting in?
He and Jesse were both 2 votes away from getting in, yeah. And Angle made it right at 60%, 1 less vote, and he's not in. So, that was a couple of tight people. The other ones, obviously Sakuraba and Undertaker and Bob Backlund. Well, Bob Backlund didn't make it by Bob Backlund made it by enough. But the real tight one was certainly Kurt Angle, who won less vote. And the big argument on Kurt Angle, of course, was the number of years pro. There's a couple of changes that I'm going to make next year, because I do actually understand. I voted for Kurt because he was on the ballot, and if you see that name on the ballot, to me, a lot of people are, for whatever reason, trying to say that he's not a great wrestler. Everyone I talk to in wrestling, nothing but raves. If you talk to guys who wrestle Kurt Angle, and the top guys, I'll tell you something that's funny is, like, I'll read something where, Kurt's not as good a wrestler as so-and-so, and the so-and-so who we're talking about is someone who I know very well and talk with, who does believe that he's even in the caliber of Kurt, and had wrestled Kurt probably 50 times, if you know what I'm saying.
Isn't it tough to believe that just people have that? It's one thing to say that he hasn't put in the years, and if that's going to be your determining factor, then I understand that, but how can you ever go down that other avenue talking about how Angle doesn't deserve to be from a wrestling standpoint?
Yeah. But
that just doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Well, people have different, when it comes to bell to bell, a lot of people have different visions, and the other thing that, you learn is that people don't have much tolerance for people's visions. I mean, that's just how it goes. Anyway, we're going to start getting some phone calls. We're going to start in Jacksonville, Florida with Bryan. Bryan, what's going on?
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hello, Bryan. How you doing?
Good. It seems like I've heard your name before. I pretty much stuck mostly with the WWF growing up. But can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into starting the TNA and what you did before that?
Wow.
Yeah.
only how many episodes of Nitro?
Wasn't the first question that I expected today. I think about 250.
Yeah.
Nitro shows, and I worked for WCW for I guess what was it, 9 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood, and prior to that, I did. Speaking of national wrestling radio talk shows, I hosted a national wrestling radio talk show called the Wrestling Insiders from 1991 until, I guess 95 or 96. And prior to that, and this may sound familiar,
did a wrestling newsletter.
I edited and published a wrestling newsletter and wrote articles for wrestling newsstand magazines. So I guess that's my wrestling.
Mike's background. Mike has been around wrestling for about as long as almost anyone involved in the business. There's a few that have been around a little bit longer, and very few. But
that's true. Now that you put it that way,
starting as a fan in the '60s, but you were doing. What year did you start your newsletter? It was had to be 69-ish.
1966 through 73.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 1966, almost 40 years ago. So anyway, he's got almost 40 years of being around wrestling. And I haven't said it on the show, but Mike is, of the people that I've been wrestling, and that's about everyone, Mike is very high on the list, easily top 5 or 6, if not top 1 or 2, most intelligent people when it comes to this business that I've ever come across. I'll say that, and a lot of people will say that as well. So we're going to go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, guys. What I want to ask about is I bought the Ric Flair book, and I was reading the chapter where, I'm sorry, I can't think of the guy's name, but it's where he actually dropped it out to the local hero. Jack
Veneno in Puerto Rico? Or in San Domingo, maybe?
Yeah, that one.
Or Victor Javica.
Yeah, and then, because he was scared for his life, he let the guy keep the title. He came back. They went back for the rematch.
That might have been Jovica, because I don't even know if he ever went back to face Veneno ever again. He may have. I'm not sure. Veneno was there was one. God, the two stories are so similar because they're both, basically, in the islands. One of them, I remember that, Piper was supposed to interfere.
Yeah, that's the match I'm talking about.
Okay, and they just got scared to death that they were all going to get shot, so Rick just told the guy, that might have been Veneno, and just goes, cover me. And they counted to 3, and they gave him the belt. But yeah, neither of those was planned.
Okay, the question I do have is, Rick said that the guy offered him the belt back after the match, and Flair took it. The question I have is...
Okay, that's Veneno. That's Veneno.
Okay, had the wrestler decided that he said the hell with it, and he decided to keep the title, what would the NWA have done? Would they have recognized it and sent it?
No, they would have ignored it like they in fact did at the time. News traveled a lot differently in those days because this is early '80s, and I was as well connected as almost anybody, and I would say that months later I heard rumors about it. Literally nobody even knew it happened because it was in San Domingo. It wasn't even in San Juan where people kind of did get news. San Domingo, nobody got any news, even though I think there was 20,000 people or something at the show. It was a huge deal at the place. But no, they would have just ignored it because the fact is that nobody even knew it happened, and Flair never really publicly talked about it until the last couple of years. So I could say that I don't think that I even knew for sure that it happened until, I don't know, maybe in the last 5 to 7 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
People that became wrestling fans during the Internet era have no concept of how wrestling news traveled, in the 60s, 70s.
Before The Observer, it was unbelievable. It's so different, if you know what I'm saying. In those...
It was so jaded because it was all Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It was all work, basically, too.
Most people got it from the magazines. The magazines were, aside from being very outdated in those days, a lot more than they are now, and it was all work storylines, and they had their magazine favorites, that they pushed, who, those magazine favorites never did jobs, even when they did. You know what I mean?
In the pre-email era, You can't believe how many results that as a publisher and editor of a wrestling newsletter, you receive the majority of your information initially by mail, secondarily a little bit by telephone.
Very little when we were around, when we first started.
And really up until the last maybe 10 or 15 plus years, I would say. And, I mean, even though the information was dated from a newsletter standpoint, it was still months ahead of newsstand magazines.
Yeah.
Okay, and another Flair title switch. I know that he dropped the title to Cologne, and that's also not recognized.
That was, the way they recognized that was Cologne was the WWC champion, Flair was the NWA champion. I think that they had a cage match in '83, and I could be wrong about the dates. Might be, but it was right around that time. And Cologne got out of the cage to win, and he won the match, and they billed him as the Universal Champion, which was supposed to have been a higher title than either of them, and the Universal title became the main title in WWC, and is still to this day. I'm trying to remember, someone sent me a whole big thing of exactly how it was done on Puerto Rico television, and I do think that they may have called Carlos the NWA champion on Puerto Rico television while still defending it. While Flair was still defending it in the States, but I'm not sure. I actually had that in the Observer many, many years ago, but I don't remember the exact details of how it went down. But because I know Flair wrestled Cologne. Flair still went back there for a while as NWA World Champion later, so they must have done something or some type of a ruling where he ended up on their television as NWA Champion again. After the Brody death, I don't think Flair ever went back.
Okay. Well, how did the NWA committee feel about putting Flair in the title match where they're actually fighting for a title that, like you said, was supposedly higher than the NWA title? Did they know about this, or, I mean...
In those days, WWC was one of the hottest promotions in the world. They paid big money for it. It was outside the United States. The way the communication was, they figured nobody would find out, and in fact, nobody in '83, hardly anyone did find out. The Japan actually has always been far better covered than Puerto Rico. So it actually, doing a title change in Japan, that, when they first did the first one, which was Baba beating Jack Briscoe, they thought nobody would find out about that, but everybody found out about the Baba beating Jack Briscoe, and they did have to acknowledge it. But with the ones in Puerto Rico, because of the nature of how news never got out of Puerto Rico to the United States, I don't think that they were all that concerned. They just figured, well, it's in Puerto Rico, and no one's going to know, and almost nobody did know.
Okay, and also on a similar subject, from Hardy Grace dropped the title to Baba. Was he reprimanded for that, or? No,
that was all. By then, they'd done that many times, and Baba paid big money, for those title wins. I think Harley might have gotten as much as $40,000 the last time, but it was certainly 25 was what Briscoe got the first time, and I think that was the going rate where you would get Baba would pay the NWA and pay the champion, and that was a great payoff for a wrestler, for a bonus. There was, to get the 1 week, and Baba would give it back at the end of the week, and that was just one of those things. No, I mean...
In Race's book, he makes it sound like it was his idea, and the NWA had no idea that he was going to drop the title to Baba. I
seriously doubt that they would have had no idea, because even with Briscoe, they all knew ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wouldn't have been his idea, because it had been done before with Briscoe.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Thanks for taking my call, guys.
Okay, very welcome. Is Race's book out? I didn't even know that.
I didn't think it was going to be out for a while yet.
Yeah, they have excerpts on a website.
Okay. Because, I know Race's book is coming out very soon, but I didn't know that it was out yet. Yeah, I was actually looking forward to reading that. There's so many books coming out. The Funk book, Terry Funk book, I already know is a really good book, as we've talked about on the show before, and J.J. Dillon's coming out with a book, too. So, anyway, we will go to Guy in Ladera Beach. What's going on, Guy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing really good.
I had a question as it concerned Ultimo Dragon. I know he just recently retired the gimmick, and he's going back to WWE, where he was a prelim wrestler previously and will most likely be that again. And I just wondered if you guys knew the reasoning behind giving up a legacy and the type of thing he has in Japan to be a prelim wrestler in the U.S.
I don't know all the details of Ultimo Dragon. I know that, he's living in Mexico City, and he's still going to be able to train guys. And as a trainer, it's, his track record's unbelievable. But, he's still going to be training wrestlers in Mexico and flying out of Mexico to work WWE when he comes, which might be as early as November. I mean, I don't even know if they have a set date. But yeah, I think it's inevitable he's going to come in and be exactly in the same spot he was when he left, which isn't very good. And I don't know why he wants to come back. I don't really even know why they would want him back, but he is coming back. So he did lots of jobs on the way out in Japan, knowing that he was giving gimmick. So
because I seem to come to realize something. If you guys agree, it seems easier for a heavyweight wrestler in Japan to retain his legacy way after his working, prime has passed, as opposed to a junior heavyweight who made his name on his work. Do you think that could be a possible reason? I don't think that's the reason. I mean, the reason he first came and signed the contract was because one of his goals in life was to appear at WrestleMania, which he accomplished, and one of his goals in life was to wrestle in Madison Square Garden, which he accomplished, and he had to go to WWE to do both of those. Now that he's done those and didn't do well in WWE, why he's going back and why they're taking him back, I don't really know the answer. I don't know, Mike. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I just can't imagine, after seeing how he was handled the first time, that he's going in any way, shape, or form to be able to add to his legacy by going back there. So I can't imagine that that's a reason. We know he's a big fan of the business, and he always wanted to be a part of that Madison Square Garden big WWE and his childhood growing up WWF show that he always read about when he was growing up in Japan. But I'm absolutely shocked that once he achieved that he is going to go back.
Yeah.
And one other question about TNA. What are your guys' feelings on with the 1-hour television show? It seems to me a few of the guys who are coming across as stars on the 2-hour pay-per-view, mainly guys who are doing interviews every week like a Raven or a Monty Brown, aren't coming across quite the same way on the 1-hour weekly show. And what you guys feel a 1-hour weekly show is enough to retain a whole promotion these days?
Boy, it's a good question, and I think that it's a real struggle every week to get everything jammed into that 1-hour Impact show that we do. I thought the show that aired this past Friday was one of our more recent, stronger efforts, and I think I would agree that if we had that luxury of having more time, it would certainly enhance our ability to get the characters over. And gosh, maybe something's going to happen along those lines here in the next couple of months where we're able to not only have 1-hour Impact show, but also have a 1-hour Explosion show that's on equal footing, and maybe that would help it out in that effort.
All right, that's all I had. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, any talk of T upgrade? I mean, we certainly had heard a lot for a while there about a potential late Saturday night slot, perhaps Explosion being added to the Fox Sports Net lineup. Anything new? I mean, I know nothing's official. I mean, just any scuttlebutt, anything. Yeah,
definitely. There's talk about it. Nothing definitive at this point. I think it was important that we took that first step. We got on Fox, and now, to me personally, I think if we are to take that next step, it's going to have to be with an upgraded time slot. Whether it is the Saturday night slot that's been mentioned and rumored, I think some kind of a weekend slot is a must. And my presumption is that our showing on Best Damn Sports Show is going to be critical on a lot of fronts. I think both in terms of maybe reinforcing our position with Fox Sports Net, as well as continuing to open up the eyes of the people at TNA management that, given the right publicity and given the right time slot, that we do have a product that can attract a number. So I think it's really a must for us if we're going to take that next important step.
What do you think is the most important thing to get TV that's hooking people? Because right now, I mean, let's face it, nobody in wrestling is doing that right now.
Man, that is the $64 million question of all time.
Yeah.
I think that we need to continue to do everything within our power to try and create those new stars, the guys that we've had that are just right on the brink of breaking out. I think AJ really has, in terms of the wrestling audience right now. He's attracted the attention that there's no way that he's been able to attract any kind of a mainstream audience. And I think that, to me, is the most important thing, just coming up with a hook that would get that big national audience and get them to tune in, and at the same time create those people that are recognized as stars, definitely create new stars at the same time. You have to have the recognizable faces.
Yeah, I think the thing on Wednesday is very critical in the sense of if AJ or somebody can wow those people where they talk about it every now and then. Yep. And that's the kind of people, that kind of buzz that you talk about Best Damn Sports Show. It's not the most highly rated show, but it's one of those, things that if it's part of their scene, it becomes, to an extent, part of the scene. To John in Kentucky. John, what's happening?
Hey, guys, how you doing? I just had a few quick questions for y'all. I consider myself a real big wrestling fan, as far as what's going on, behind the scenes from y'all show and whatever and everything. But I don't understand, and this question kind of goes to Mike, why didn't they put TNA? I've never seen it. I'm a Dish Network subscriber, and there's so many people out there who want to see the show, they're not going to pay the extra money to get that channel. Why didn't they try to put it on a channel that's part of a basic package? Because any wrestling fan on a Wednesday night, Thursday night, whatever, if wrestling's on, we're going to watch it.
Well, John, I think in an ideal world, there's no question that TNA would like to have its product, say, on a Monday night, maybe.
Yeah.
Going head-to-head with the WWE product on Spike TV, and I think there's no question that in that ideal world, we would like to be on one of those type stations, whether it's a USA network or whether it's an FX.
Well, what I'm saying is to really boost them ratings, don't go head-to-head with Raw right away. Get your fan base, get, everything that you want, and then later on down the road, a year, whatever, head-to-head.
That would be great, John, if that was the case, but under the circumstances, to be very honest with you, the Fox Sports Network Friday afternoon package was really the best that we could do right now on several fronts, from a financial standpoint, from many things. That was the best time slot that we could get on that network because they have so much live sport. So I think you're right. It would be ideal to have it on a more recognizable network. That's not the case right now, but I would disagree with you. I think that there is such a built-in Monday night audience that people, for the better part of 10 years, they know when it's Monday night, that's wrestling night. They know that they can watch wrestling on Monday night. So I would disagree with you in saying that we should try and go to a different time slot, then come back and attack them. I think just think back to the WCW, WWF Monday Night Wars and how the key was that being able to switch back and forth between the two programs.
Right.
That game of can you top this? Who was going to top the other wrestling promotion? And I think that would be a huge boost to the wrestling industry right now, and I think if we could pick that one dream time, that's what it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wanting to know about the John Cena deal.
Yes.
If that was legitimate, what they was talking about on TV.
No, John Cena is in Australia doing a movie called The Marine, and he'll be there for another couple of months, I think.
So he really wasn't hurt or stabbed?
No. That's just a storyline for Carly Colon, so there's something for John Cena to do when he comes back.
Okay, that's what I was kind of figuring. And the second question is, can you give me a rundown on what happened on Taboo Tuesday? Because I wasn't able to get it.
Sure.
And what you thought of, from your professional opinion and everything.
Last two matches were good. Up until that point, it was pretty bad. Randy Orton beat Ric Flair in the cage match. It was very bloody, like an old-school cage match, really. Good match, and Ric Flair and Randy Orton hugged, which will be real interesting to see what happens on TV Monday when it comes to the character of Ric Flair. Triple H and Shawn Michaels ended when Edge speared Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels had knee surgery this past week, for real. He's going to be out for a while. He went in with a bad knee and did a gutsy job. It was definitely not your normal Triple H Shawn Michaels match. Some people did not like it because Shawn was so limited and probably shouldn't have been in there. I kind of liked it just because it was something different, and I thought Shawn's selling ability was incredible. Gene Snitsky beat Kane because Kane is an injured Kane. Kane's going to be gone also to Australia doing a movie for the next couple months. And in the tag team title match, Chris Benoit by himself beat La Resistance. Edge was his partner, but Edge walked out on him. Eric Bischoff got his head shaved after Eugene beat him. You don't want to hear about the women's matches. They were horrible. The Carmella match was especially horrible, and I think she's gone. I think that's it. And that was largely it, really.
All righty. Well, that's what I needed, and I appreciate it.
Okay, very welcome. Hey, okay, you too, John. Let's go to Mitch in Berkeley. Mitch, what's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing great.
Mike, TENAY, it's great to be on the phone with you. Met you once at a show in San Jose, and you were one of the nicest people in business that I've ever met.
Thank you.
So I just want to let you know that. And I really wanted to talk about TNA. And I'm just a supporter of small things, whether it be a small band or a small wrestling organization. Whether I like it or not, it doesn't really matter. I paid extra to get MLW on my satellite, and then I canceled that, and I paid more to get you guys on what you're on now, Fox Sports. And just when I was ready, like, it didn't get me right away, but I was ready to get that cage match, and it's not carried on DirecTV. So my first question is when will I be able to watch pay-per-views via DirecTV in the future?
Wow, Mitch, that is a great question.
Boy, isn't it?
Someone who is also a DirecTV subscriber. Now, I happen to be able to have both DirecTV and cable, so it doesn't impact me necessarily as much as you. But
I may get there if that 24/7 thing's only on cable. So,
as somebody who's a DirecTV subscriber alone, boy, I would really have to feel for you. I just know that there's a business disagreement between sides, and I wish I had better news, and I wish I told you that it was resolved and that we'd be back up and running for the Victory Road pay-per-view, but I have not been told that, so my presumption is that they have not made a deal with DirecTV.
Has it affected you guys much on the numbers of the last pay-per-views and the last couple without DirecTV, or not necessarily?
You would think that just from the audience that we're icing out because of that it would have to affect it drastically.
Right.
And I can imagine that it wouldn't be a change in the numbers.
Do you sell the tapes on your website?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Do you sell tapes of the old pay-per-views on your website?
Yeah, we have our DVDs that are
like compilations,
best of DVDs,
right,
where it's Don West and I host them, and you have a different subject matter. You have best of the world's title matches, best of the tag matches, best of AJ Styles. So I would definitely suggest that would be a way to get caught up in a hurry at a bargain rate, would be check out the DVDs that are on our website, TNAWrestling.com.
And I got a couple other questions about TNA, and I hope I can speak candidly about it.
Go.
Of course you can.
The first was Don West the guy that used to sell the baseball cards?
Wow, the one and the same, the guy that used to be at the Shop at Home network that you used to watch at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's right. I'll buy 5 of these. Get on the phone.
Yeah.
He's the same guy, and it's really been a great experience working with him.
How did he cross over? You guy's such a character. How did he get into wrestling?
He was approached initially by Vince Russo to come to WCW. This would have been in the...
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was approached about WCW.
Oh, yeah, the last year or so that WCW was around.
They would have replaced Madden for him, probably.
I think, from what I've heard from the conversations, that they approached him about the Thunder show.
Okay.
But, who knows? That's certainly the story that I've heard, but I think that Don has made incredible strides. And right now, working with him is as much fun as I've had working with any broadcast partner. And when I tell you that covers a heck of a lot of ground, when you look at people like Bobby Heenan,
right,
and Larry Zbyszko, and you know that
and does he?
Don really cares about the product. Don about the job that he does. And he's a great guy to work with.
At him somewhat, and I'm sure he seems like a cool enough guy to laugh at himself, but we miss him on that baseball card thing, because late at night we would just put that on for entertainment, because the guy was just like 5-star promo, 110% caffeine, just on anything.
Oh, yeah.
What he's selling.
Well, you get a little taste of that sometimes during the Impact show, especially when he's trying to sell you the $49 package.
Yeah, to meet the
road pay-per-view. So that's just, you get a little taste with TNA.
Right, and the other question I had on TNA was, I don't know, style-wise, it seems like it's bringing in some extreme stuff, but it's doing kind of a hybrid and doing a little bit more of a mainstream package. And in this day and age, that's probably the safest thing to do. But when I watch TNA, what I'm wishing is, I like it. I want to love it the way I loved ECW and the way the crowd wore all the T-shirts and it started this revolution. And I want it to do that, and I don't know what it would take to do that. And I'm just wondering, and it doesn't mean that if you did that it would be great, and if you didn't it's bad. It just means, I wonder what it will take for TNA to get that fan frenzy that they created, that almost gang-like following.
Boy, that's a tough one, where everybody's rooting for the home team, right?
Right.
I don't think that it's hardcore. I think that was one of your suggestions, that maybe we go down that road. I don't think that's it. I think the opposite, actually. I think for us really to survive and for us to thrive today, we are going to need to be as mainstream friendly as possible.
Right.
And I think I said it when we initially signed the deal with Fox Sports Net. I thought that it would be probably one of the best things in terms of fallout for signing that contract with Fox Sports Net, that it would, in essence, force us to police ourselves. And I think we've had a family-friendly type product that Fox Sports Net has been very proud of and pleased to have on their show. And if we all had the answer to that question about what would take it to the next level, that would be easy. We'd all plug that in. But I think we're headed down the right track, and I think we just got to continue to work down that path to get that kind of acceptance.
I love the Canadian angle, by the way, and I love the the flip pile driver.
Oh, P. Williams, great finish for
that. I feel like I'm 8 years old again and trying to rewind the tape and figure out. Like I remember putting the Boston crowd with my friends, trying to figure out what the hell they were doing, because now we're so oversensitized that we understand it all, and moves like that. And I love the Canadian angle, and I'm wondering if Lance Storm is looking for the WWE back behind the scenes, or if you could bring in him or somebody like that to put over the Canada angle as more of a main event angle.
I would disagree with you there, because I think that Scott D'Amore has just done a phenomenal job as a heel manager in getting the kind of response that the Canadians get. I don't think that's the problem in the least. I would definitely stick with D'Amore role.
I mean, I'm with that. I just mean I would like to see that at the end of the show, but maybe that's just because I'm more of a hardcore, fans really into the really awesome wrestling opposed to the big names. And I do like Jeff Jarrett a lot, but I just think that the Canadian stuff is fantastic. And my final two comments are: one, I love that you show Hogan constantly getting buried on that Japanese press conference. And number two, I just wanted to say that the guy that didn't remember you or who you were or what you did, that in the dying days of WCW, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, but there was...
That was 1,500 TV shows that I did. What did we do? Just sweep those right into the carpet?
But I mean, there was some, you got to remember, there were some periods, like in early '98, WCW was on fire.
That's true. But Mike was also the straight man. He wasn't the loud. I mean, a lot of people didn't know Shivani by name that weren't diehard wrestling fans. It was just kind of, the straight guy, and then who's that crazy guy next to him, Heenan or somebody else? And,
yeah.
And I don't know. Mike, I think you're great, and best luck to TNA. And I watch every week on Sportnet. I've got it on my TiVo, and I'll always support it.
It's the greatest invention ever, isn't it, Mitch, TiVo?
You bet your ass. I said I wasn't going to have a child unless we got TiVo, so there you go.
Okay, if I had TiVo, I wouldn't have had a child. But that's another story. We're going to go to Regina, Saskatchewan, and Trent. Trent, what's going on?
First-time caller, but long-time subscriber and listener to the show. Really enjoy it all.
Oh, thank you very much.
I had two questions tonight. The first one, I guess, concerns the new guys, or like the tough enough guys and stuff that WWE is trying to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like Brock Lesnar got a lot of money and pushed to the top and got fed up with other stuff, like the travel, working conditions and stuff. Do you not think that the more WWE looks outside traditional wrestling or traditional wrestlers to people from athletic professions where they're treated much better, do you not think they'll find a lot more Brock Lesnars who will walk away after a while?
I think Brock Lesnar was 1 in a million in about 10 different ways, and one of them is the fact that he walked away from that kind of money. I don't think that, I mean, if you had a guy who could, let's see, play in the NFL for real, yeah, I could see them, there's so much money in the NFL that they would leave professional wrestling. But, if you had a guy, Brock Lesnar was so confident in his athletic abilities. One of the reasons he left, the main reason he left, I mean, he was fed up. He didn't like to travel. As a person, he's a unique person. I mean, he doesn't like being around people that much, which is pretty difficult for a pro wrestler. And obviously, as an athlete, Brock Lesnar is one of the greatest athletes that's ever come along. I mean, for his size in pro wrestling, right at the top. So, like I said, he's just a unique guy. I think that if Brock Lesnar doesn't make it in football, and the odds are he won't, that Brock Lesnar will be back in the WWE and for goods. I don't know that Brock is like a washout. I don't think, you gotta love pro wrestling because it's so physically hard on you, and the travel is so hard if you don't want it bad. it's going to be tough to do it. Nevertheless, if we look at the tough enough people that have been in it, none of them have quit. They're all of the winners are still around, and a couple of other people from Tough Enough, Chris Nowinski and Matt Morgan, who didn't win Tough Enough but ended up getting developmental deals anyway. They're all there. No one's quit yet. So I don't think the quitting is, again, Brock Lesnar's a unique individual. I don't think the quitting is if you survive the Tough Enough, you're probably going to survive the odds, say, OVW, and OVW in many ways is probably tougher than WWE, because at least with WWE you're making some big money. Mike, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's just impossible, Trent, to really simplify things like you mentioned there. And you're looking for that individual that not only has that athletic ability, but also the total passion for the business as well. And it's tough to get that all in one package.
Yeah. Brock was, the one other thing also, a lot of these guys on the Tough Enough thing are, big fans. And certainly, I tell you, the guy Bryan Carlucci, that wasn't the name he used, I think Brian Danowich or something, that was one of the gutsiest things I ever saw. I thought it was
with the torn
torn pec and torn bicep, and then going through the obstacle course. And I mean, you can tell, man, that guy, if he ever got a job in wrestling, he's never quitting. You know what I mean?
And probably could answer some of the questions on Jim Cornette's OVW test.
Maybe, I know, yeah, when they test those guys. Trent, anything else?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask about was, I heard first that TNA was coming on to TSN up here.
Oh, that's $1 million question, isn't it?
Boy, isn't it?
I read that WWE wasn't happy about it, and that may not happen. Does Mike, or do you know more about that happening?
I think you're probably as up to speed on this as I am. I mean, that's kind of the fallout that I've heard as well. I really don't have any further of an update to say that, we're definitely coming on at a specific time. Dave, have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything, at all as far as, the deal seems on hold, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the deal was obviously pretty darn close. It hadn't been signed, and, what happened. All I can say is being around wrestling as long as I have, and being around television as long as I have, the idea that because it leaked on the internet, or because Scott Moore said it on a radio show before they had a chance to announce it, that the deal fell apart, I don't buy that for a second, because every single television deal that I can ever remember in professional wrestling, everyone leaked before the station announced it in the Observer, and since the internet era, on the internet. There isn't one deal that came as a shock. This Fox Sports Net deal with TNA. My God, we were writing about it for months and months and months. It seems like, while the negotiations were going on week after week before the idea that TSN was mad that it leaked before the contract was signed, and that's why it's not going on. I just don't buy that. I don't know, Mike. Do you have any thoughts?
No, I would agree with that as well, and I'm not even sure how much there is to the stories that I've read about the WWE obviously not wanting the competition on there too. I just don't know. I
don't know. I'm not saying it's WWE. I've been told it's not, but everyone's going to tell you whatever. But the story that TSN gave is just something. It's a story I buy. So, but yeah, there's no start date. There's no definite thing one way or the other. So.
Okay, well, I'd like to see a TNA up here. I always enjoyed much work in WCW.
Trent, thank you very much, and hope that we're able to get that kind of exposure up there. I guess right now, correct me if I'm wrong, are they not showing, is it ESPN Classic Canada?
Yeah.
Showing the early pay-per-views right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about it, right?
I don't have access to that, but they are showing it, so there is some presence up here, and we could order the Wednesday pay-per-views.
Yeah.
As well, but nice to see a more mainstream exposure for TNA.
Oh, gosh, no question, Trent.
And even WCW never did WWE ratings, but they did okay. And
yeah,
I'm sure sick of a lot of what WWE does all the time. So
yeah.
It'd be nice to be exposed to something different.
Yeah, Trent.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Trent, thank you very much for calling, and call again, please. Okay. We will go to Scott in LA. Scott, what's happening?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Observer and Mr. TNA. How are you tonight?
Sounds like Scott Walton to me.
It is Scott Walton.
In a flash. In a flash. How are you, sir?
Very good.
How's everything?
Good. Dave, I hope you're doing well.
Doing well. I want to let everyone know Scott Walton is the son of Jeff Walton, who was Mike is known for, since the beginning of time. And, Jeff did publicity and TV announcing for the old Los Angeles promotion. In fact, did the WWF magazine, I think, when it first started around 84-ish.
That's right. The very first.
Yeah.
The first magazine ever, which not a lot of people would know about that. So But thank you for mentioning that. I just want to say, of course, to Mike, I always catch TNA every Friday at 3 o'clock in Los Angeles. It's a great show. I enjoy it every time. And the guy mentioned about TiVo, which I have as well, and I never miss a beat. My question is pretty much, and Dave, I think I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. Are there any plans whatsoever if for TNA to come out maybe to the West Coast, say Las Vegas or Los Angeles? Are there any plans for that?
Well, I wish I could give you a specific date and say, yes, there's going to be an event such and such a date, but I can't do that. But I can tell you that I've had our management people, including Jeff Jarrett, looking at site in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And I would be shocked now that we're going to the monthly Sunday pay-per-view schedule. I would be shocked if we were not doing a show, one of those Sunday pay-per-views from Las Vegas within the next, say, 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because, I mean, I enjoy TNA. I'm especially looking forward to seeing Victory Road because you really got a good product on your hands, and you mentioned about branching out, and I just hope, that someday, I hope in the near future, and I hope close to it, that TNA will be able to come out on the West Coast, especially for Los Angeles, for that matter.
Yeah, I think it's important also for the company just to increase that visibility, that we do have a presence outside of Tennessee and outside of Florida. So I think that's also important. We're talking about Victory Road. I just thought of a couple of matches that Dave, I don't know that we talked about or not today, but in addition to all the ones that you mentioned before, there's going to be a minis match. That's right. Featuring the midget wrestlers from Mexico. And in addition to that, I think arguably my favorite feud of the past 6+ months or so in TNA has been America's Most Wanted at XXX.
Now, what kind of do they have? Is that going to be a cage match or any special match, or has that even been announced yet?
It hasn't been announced yet, but my understanding is that it's going to be XXX and AMW in a last team standing match, sort of to determine once and for all who is the best tag team in TNA history. So I think when you factor that in, that XXX AMW match, add in the Mexican minis, Abe and P.D. Williams for the X Division title, I think there really is going to be an awful lot of solid work on that show November 7th.
Okay, Scott?
Yeah, Dave, thank you. I want to make a quick last compliment to Mike. I just want to say that Mike and Bobby Heenan were the MCs for the Cauliflower Alley Club for the past few years. And Dave, I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. And I read this in your wonderful Wrestling Observer newsletter. I never miss an issue. That it's just too bad that they're not going to be doing it next year. Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
I wish that things had gone better at the last thing to where they would have wanted to come back. And believe me, I understand what the problem is. And I tell you what, if they weren't there at the last show, that would have been it would have been a really long night. It was a long night anyway, but Bobby Heenan was so fantastic. I mean, you guys who saw the WWE Hall of Fame DVD, it was another night exactly like that. Bobby was just as good at Cauliflower Alley, and Mike works with Bobby so well, and they saved the night for me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too. Dave, thank you so much for taking my call. Mike, I'll always watch TNA. Your number one fan is talking, and you guys have a good night, okay?
Okay, Scott. All right.
Thanks for the call. Thank you for taking it.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to go now to Vancouver, British Columbia, and Chris. Chris, what's going on?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Going really good.
That's great to hear. Mike, I enjoy your work.
Thank you very much, Chris.
I think one of the best announcers in the business. I had a couple of questions. First, Mike, I want to get your opinion on, in your time in WCW, which wrestler just didn't make it who you felt probably should have been right at the top with the Flairs, Hogans, DDPs during that time?
Wow.
As world champion.
That's a tough one.
The politics or whatever, who didn't make it. I think one of the guys, in my opinion, was Perry Saturn. Never got a really good break. What are your comments on that first?
I wouldn't put Perry Saturn in that group. I'd have to sit here and think. I mean, I have a name in mind.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, I have two names in mind actually, and I was going to talk about Chris Benoit. And I was going to talk about Rey Mysterio. Yeah. Two completely different.
Rey Mysterio. I would say more the whole cruiserweight division as a whole is more than just Rey Mysterio as an individual.
Right.
They did something with it. They got it over to a degree, but there was certainly that feeling of how they were portrayed, as it related to the heavyweights that kind of made them obsolete because, when you keep telling people and by your portrayal that something's secondary, it becomes secondary. And there were so many talented guys that were given so many incredible matches. You know, at the height of WCW, I would say that, you know, I mean, that, you know, if I was going to think about that as far as, but, you know, I would have made none of those guys world champions. I think, I don't know if I'd have made Benoit world champion, but I would have considered it, you know.
And I think one other name that I just thought about would be Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Who also probably didn't get really his just due in WCW.
Although I don't think Eddie Guerrero was the all-around performer. I mean, as a worker,
I know he wasn't.
Yeah, as a worker in the ring, he was probably actually better in WCW, or every bit as good as he is now. But all-around performer, he picked some stuff up in WWE that improved him a lot.
Wow, especially in terms of his presentation, in terms of his microphone skills. Unbelievable how far he's advanced since going to WWE.
Yeah.
Right, and one more question. Last night I was watching some old wrestling tapes, and I came across the best of WWF Raw from 1994, and it had Marty Jannetty versus Shawn Michaels IC title match where he came in and won the title.
Oh, I remember that match was awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the best matches. I think you think it was the match of the year as you voted, but
I wouldn't have voted it first, but I mean, I'm sure it was in the top. You know, it was in the list.
Yeah, what's the story about that? He had the belt for 3 weeks, Jannetty, and then he dropped it again to him. I'm just wondering why he wasn't given a longer run with the IC title, because remember he had a shot at the Royal Rumble that year and he didn't win it, then he disappeared, then he came back and won it, then dropped it to Michaels again, and then he just vanished pretty much, never really didn't get any more single title reigns or anything along those lines.
I think that they never, two things, Marty was his own worst enemy for one thing, and the other one is that, I don't think that they ever thought that Marty Jannetty was on the level of Shawn Michaels, but they knew it was a good story, and I think that day, you know, when he came back on the Raw, it was one of those things, it was in the early days of Raw, it kind of established Raw, you had something that, like, you know, people weren't expecting, and then you even had a title change in a day when title changes meant a lot more, so I think it was the right thing, but I think that, like, when Marty won the title, it was to shock people and to get over Raw, and just to do something different, but in the long run, I don't think they ever had the idea that Marty Jannetty was a long-term Intercontinental Champion. I think that, you know, Shawn was always the one who they thought was going to be the star, and they were just looking for to keep, you know, start a feud with Shawn, and that Marty needed to win more than Shawn on that day, which he did.
Right, and by the way, that was the first ever title change on Raw in the history of Raw.
Yeah, so there you go. I think that was to establish, you know, that titles, you know, that the title could change hands on Raw, and also establish the surprise aspect, because if I remember, I don't think Jannetty was advertised ahead of time.
No.
I remember, like, wow, Marty's back and he won, you know, like, as I remember that night.
My recollection is that it was to add to the unpredictability factor of Raw.
Yeah. And the fact that Shawn was such an awesome worker, and Marty stayed with, you know, on that night, boy, you know, I mean, and they had some great matches, and I remember that one, as I recall, was the best between the two that I saw.
All right, and before I let you go, Mike, like I said, you're a great announcer, and you have a lot of, you're great with the Mexican luchadors. Before I let you go, I just want to know where's the whereabouts of Lizmark, and I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Lizmark, junior or senior?
Junior.
Junior's still wrestling in Mexico, but
I've seen his name listed in results. I don't think I've seen him on any of the TV shows for quite a while.
Yeah, he must be working independence, because you're right. I haven't seen him on CMLL in a long, long time.
And, you know, there was a lot of people, too, that when you take that first look at him, you know, because of his size and everything, that people really expected the world of Lizmark Jr.
He was, you know, a couple of those guys, and I think Hector Garza was the same way, they came in and they took the little bit of adapting time, and then everyone in WCW just, like, soured on him. But those guys, and I think Hector, obviously, as history would have shown more than Lizmark, Hector's a guy who they totally dropped the ball on.
Yeah, and someone who I think I would love to see back on the TNA shows.
I wish he was on this show.
He just really added a little different element to that show that, you know, that maybe is missing.
You know, I mean, like, it's not like he's an American superstar, but I mean, when you watch, as you do regularly, when you watch the show, he's just actually on the TV. It's actually been a couple of months, but on the TV, they've just, for the last I don't know what it's been, a couple of months or so, you know, started showing him on the CMLL shows. And he carries himself like a superstar. And when he came to TNA, he walked around like he was a superstar. And, you know, the people I remember the people in the building, they really, in Nashville, Hector Garza was a star of those people.
Yeah, he was able to fight through that language barrier and absolutely bond and connect with that audience, because he is so good in terms of his expressions, in terms of his demeanor in front of the crowd. And, you know, while you brought it up, I just have to say that I've really enjoyed watching some of the CMLL TV shows, boy, in the last month or so have just been tremendous on Galavision. They're about 10, 12 weeks tape delayed. Is that right?
No, I know that we're around the Olympic period now. So
yeah.
So I mean, I see what is it? Looks like August when they do the promos, right?
Right. And but just especially the stuff revolving around Perro Aguayo Jr., Negro Casas, and El Santo has just been, I think, about as solid as lucha work gets, both in terms of in-ring and in terms of angles. It's just been fantastic, the stuff that's been on there, the Galavision, the last few weeks.
Oh, Perro Aguayo Jr., I mean, what was he, 25 years old, I'm thinking? And, you talk about a guy there, and there's so few of them, and it's one of the things that worries me about this business is, with the possible exception of, Randy Orton, how many future legends do we see right now in this business? And, and to say that about Randy Orton is probably premature, but I think that, Perro Aguayo Jr., I believe, will be, someday regarded as, kind of like El Hijo del Santo was with El Santo in the sense of, maybe not as big a historical star as the father, but a better worker than the father.
Already has established himself, I think, in that same vein as Santos' son has, and he's already, I think, by far surpassed his father as a worker.
Yeah. Let's go to John in Brook, New Jersey. John, what's going on?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really good.
All right. I was just wondering. I was reading that WWE was sending feelers to America's Most Wanted, and what were your thoughts about that? And are you guys worried that, if they go, that the WWE are going to kill them?
Well, that was a news story last week, Mike. I guess you can update everybody on that.
Yeah, I think it's great that TNA has talent that WWE is interested in, and I think it just increases our level of visibility when stories like this break. But John, I can tell you that AMW has signed with TNA.
That's good, because I really don't want to see him go, because I see how... Yeah, I see how WWE is, and I just don't want them to kill him.
There's always that chance.
Yeah.
You never... they get their ideas. There's no guarantee that that's what they would have done, but when they get their ideas that they want to bring someone in to kill them, they usually do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I do have to say, though, that I think that if AMW, if they would have made that move, I think that they would have been really one of the standout tag teams in WWE today, and that, that also speaks to the fact that the tag teams up there, boy, there really isn't much depth.
Yeah, there's no tag teams anymore up there.
But I'm definitely glad that they decided to re-sign with TNA.
All right, thanks, guys.
Okay, very welcome, John. We're going to go to Lee in Kansas. Lee, what's going on?
Hi, guys. Hey, Mike TENAY. I'm a long-time fan of WCW, and I was sorry when McMahon bought him out and everything. That was a sad day for me, but I wanted to say that
it's even sadder now.
I'm just out the military, and I had an opportunity to meet the Road Warriors before Hawk passed away, and I was really sad when I came back from Korea. And I found out that he had died. That hit me hard, man, because I had just met him. Just shook his hand, said they were looking forward to signing with WWE, going back and making an impact. And the next thing I know, he died in his sleep. And I thought that was just a sad day. It was a sad day for me, especially, because I was looking forward to seeing him come back, And I'm an old school guy, I'm into the old school wrestling. I like the days of the NWA and early UCW, and also I found out also that Nikita Koloff is actually from Minnesota.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that him and Mr. Perfect ran in the same circle. And come to find out, I really found out that wrestling is a really close knit community. Everybody pretty much knows each other, and the guys, and how successful, everybody when the guy looked good on TV. Everybody involved in that ring has a role to play to make that guy look good. At the same time, if the timing of the stunts and all are not there, the guys really get hurt. And that's why I have a really newfound respect for how they actually make it look real when in actuality, you have to really be strong to pick up a guy that's that heavy and body slam them like it's effortless. You know, I mean, those are some real athletes that's in the ring.
I think that Lee has been educated to the ways of the business.
Oh yeah, that's what impressed. You know.
Okay. Okay, Lee. Thanks very much for your call. Thanks. We were going to go to Robert in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Robert, how are you doing today?
All right, Dave. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I had wanted to ask you a question. With the recent downside of the business in the last couple of years, as a fan, would be the last storyline that you remember being captivated by?
Oh, I liked the Mick Foley stuff earlier this year with Randy Orton. I liked that. I possibly, I don't want to say the storyline, but the interview, not the one in Manchester, but the first Ric Flair Randy Orton interview about a month ago, where they, right before they set up the Taboo Tuesday match, I thought that was tremendous television. But again, and then they've already done the cage match and everything like that. But yeah, I would say the Foley storyline. But the whole build up to WrestleMania was real good. There's been good stuff this year. I really liked Raw the first several months of the year. There were so many great matches on Raw for the first, couple of months of the year. The, 6-man tags, Shawn Michaels, Benoit. Seemed like there was a 4-star match every week. And then, it hasn't been as good lately. I think everyone knows that. And there's definitely, it's been a big lull of late.
Well, it seems to me like other than the guys that's been around at least 10 years, everyone is so generic and so cookie cutter.
I say that all the time. I complain about it all the time. I write it all the time. Big, bald, buff guys with tattoos, or just everyone with the same haircut, that same preppy haircut, everyone wrestling the same style. You need more variation. I think it's a broad generalization, but it does epitomize one of the problems.
That's why the guy from Tough Enough caught your attention.
The black guy, the African-American guy, absolutely. He looked different.
Yep.
He looked like someone from the 80s, but which isn't necessarily bad. And, I think you're right, because, boy, that guy caught my attention, something fierce. Anything else, Robert? We got it. We're heading out in about 10 seconds.
What's the latest on the Bret Hart situation?
As far as? He's doing a play in Toronto starting in about a week.
So there's no more negotiations with WWE?
There's been nothing with WWE of late as far as negotiating, as far as doing the DVD or anything like that. No, they haven't even talked. They did make him an offer for the 24/7 thing, like a lot of the guys, but they're not close to a deal on that at all right now. Okay? All right, thanks very much. Thank you, Mike TENAY. Really had a great time.
Thank you, Dave. My pleasure.
Okay, we'll be talking to you soon. Don't forget, we'll be back every Sunday night. You listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.